morning, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the January 23rd, 2018 regular scheduled board meeting. Bear with me today. I'm not 100%. Been under the weather for several days, so we'll try to get through this as best we can. I'm going to invite Pastor Matt Collins, Associate Pastor for Pleasant Ridge Baptist Church, for our invocation.
Father God, we just want to come to you this morning in prayer. We want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to come boldly before the throne of Jesus Christ. Lord, we just thank you so much for Jesus being able to buy that opportunity with his blood on the cross. Father, we also want to pray for wisdom, spiritual wisdom. You gave wisdom to Solomon just because he asked for it. So, God, this morning we want to ask for wisdom for all of our local leaders. God, we pray you to anoint them to be the leaders of our community, that you would give them wisdom beyond their capabilities, give them godly wisdom and discernment. Father, we also want to pray for our nation. We pray, God, that you give our national leaders wisdom and discernment. And God, we pray that this area, this city, and this country be a beacon of light for the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And we ask that in his glorious and wonderful name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see. The only elected official I see in there is Sheriff Michael Atkinson. I think he's in here somewhere, hiding behind the pole over there. Good. All right. Call this meeting to order. If you have any electronic devices, please silence them at this time. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under additions and deletions, we would ask for your consideration two additions this morning, both under Commissioner Jones and her time on the agenda. The addition one is a request approval for staff to look into a request from the Paxton Fire Department regarding a protected access to US 331 for the purpose of an emergency traffic signal. And the second item will be discussion of Constitution Revision Commission Proposal Number 95.
And Mr. Chairman, I have something under my name, the update on the Redfish Bridge by Mr. Chance Powell.
That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda with additions.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now it's time for public comment. This is the time if you cannot stay through the entire board meeting. If you have a public comment at this time, please come forward and advise us what item it is so we can keep up with it. Is there any public comment at this time? Reference an agenda item. Seeing none, moving on. Is there any items to be removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, moving on. Need the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 19 is approval of the waste management EALs.
So moved.
Second.
Let me make an announcement.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
You're slow this morning.
I know it. I'm acknowledging my conflict of interest. References, I filed the necessary form with the clerk and have not and will not participate in the vote.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item under administration is regarding a request to approve a RFQ for energy conservation and savings measures through a guaranteed energy savings contract. We have a number of firms that have approached the county, and this seems to be a common practice around governments around the country these days, is for a firm to come into an energy audit of looking at how we may implement savings from changes we would make in, as you can see on the screen, from light bulbs to usage, and they'll make recommendations. The only cost associated with it would be a percentage of the savings. Typically, and this will apply to the next item as well, we'll talk about the skate park. Typically, when we're going to do an RFQ, we would ask for your permission to develop a scope of services and bring that scope back to you for approval prior to going out to contract. In both of these instances, the scope is going to be very narrow. We believe that we could accomplish approving having staff draft a scope and get that scope on the street and get the processes moving. However, if you would rather see the scope of services back before the board before we move forward with advertisement, we can certainly do that as well. But we don't see any issue with drafting a very simple scope and moving forward with the advertisement. So at your discretion, the one motion would be to have staff draft a scope of services, bring back for your approval. Second motion would be to allow staff to draft a scope of services, attach it to the advertisement, and move forward with advertising. Or certainly the third would be to deny the request. But we would recommend the second of those options.
Okay.
Could we have them drafted and then send it to us and let us look at it individually and then, of course, move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second.
Just for clarity, if there are some objections to what is proposed, we would bring it back to the board for further direction from the board.
I'm sure it'll be fine, but just
Okay,
so yeah.
that'll be fine.
Any public comment? Seeing none, what's the board's wishes? Oh, you already made a motion and a second. I told you I'm kind of foggy.
That's okay.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is a similar request. However, this is dealing with a skate park to be built at Helen McCall Park. The request would be similar to the last, but if you want to do this similar as you did last time, we could do that as well, or if you prefer receiving scope services prior to, we could do that. But this is dealing, again, with the RFQ for the design of the skate park at Helen McCall.
Let's do it this. I mean, I'd like to do it the same way.
Same way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment?
So, just to be clear, we'll draft scope services, provide it to you for comments. If there are comments, we'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. No public comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You need to share. We move to the discussion.
What number is that on the agenda? Okay. We have a request to move Commissioner's item number 4 up so we can allow the sheriff to make his presentation so he can get back to chasing bad guys. Sheriff?
Chasing?
Well, he did this morning.
This morning.
Had to have somebody help me with it, by the way. Good morning, Mike Atkinson, Walton County Sheriff. Actually, I'm just touching back on the issue concerning the opioid litigation or proposed RFQ, if you will. Obviously, we support that from a sheriff's office standpoint. We think there is pretty significant not only personal human costs, but fiscal costs to the county as well in regard to dealing with the opioid crisis, really across a wide variety of areas, both from the county jail, patrol, from the fire rescue standpoint. So what we would proffer is a willingness to assist in providing information to whoever the county selects if you choose to go forward from that standpoint, and maybe help be a clearinghouse to bring some of that information together and make sure that we have a full and accurate picture. You know, I don't know what methodology they'll use to determine that, but that's probably part of their proprietary way they're going to come forward, I would think. I will say that I know the Attorney General is looking at doing some guidelines for a potential blanket settlement in this matter, or a blanket approach, which really the main thing from the county standpoint is that it would require that those funds be used for the purpose for which that we would be trying to recoup them, which is to put toward drug treatment, things that affect those, basically reinvesting in trying to solve the problem for a better, is a short way of putting that. Now, that has not been put in place yet. Obviously, that remains to be seen. But I think that would be the general guidelines, very similar to tobacco settlements and things of that nature. So the offer from us is obviously just to support you in whatever endeavors you choose to do that and try and get full and complete access to any potential cost. So any questions for me?
How bad would you say the crisis is in Walden County?
Significant. It's significant. I mean, if you listen, even if you look at things that maybe you're not traditionally thinking of, which is one of the things I said to Commissioner Chapman and Mr. Jones, is that past the drug treatment in the jail in and of itself, you know, every time that you got a call for service that is everything from an ambulance call, mental health crisis. If you look at the number of suicides that we have in this county, I think it's really unbelievable, quite frankly, and I think that you can tie a significant number to addiction issues directly to this medication. So yeah, I think it's a wide-ranging and significant problem that the county as a whole should have a kind of a long-term plan in trying to address it, and this would be I think a reasonable approach. I think you're going to see every county in the state of Florida move forward. I know with my role in the Sheriff's Association, that's something we're discussing as well, too. So I think this is a well-suited approach that you're taking in this regard.
I will make the motion to proceed with is it an RFQ?
I think we...
Yes, Commissioner, the motion would be, we're asking for permission to proceed with an RFQ for a...
I'm sorry, so I could not hear back over there. I thought you had already actually done that.
No.
Oh, that's why you called me when I was out the door. That was the reason I thought you had already voted on it. I was
That
like,
was two other matters.
So my request for you to consider going out for an RFQ to look at firms' qualifications to represent the county in regard to addressing opioid costs related to opioid addiction issues.
And that is my motion.
Second.
I've met with one attorney, came to my office, and I was astounded at the cost to the county. So this is something that's very important. It's very important to the people of Walden County, especially the youth of Walden County. So I strongly suggest we support the sheriff in this matter.
Okay.
And I would just say, again, there's a cycle of costs because not only is it from the jail standpoint, from patrol standpoint, I think Mr. Sunday can tell you that just the costing from the mental health in the jail and the medical services are pretty intense. But it's not uncommon for us to have to Narcan, which is a drug that's used to overcome an overdose, an opioid overdose, to have people that are Narcaned multiple times over the course of a year or so. I mean, this is pretty significant impact. So.
And Narcan is very expensive.
Yeah, Narcan's running about $90 a shot, and understand that it's only good for about 60 to 90 days, and depending on what kind of environment it is, you know, how it's stored. So it's got a shelf life on it, which is a real problem. Quite honestly, we looked at putting it in the patrol cars, but because of the heat in Florida, it's cost prohibitive. I mean, there's just simply no way for us to do that and make that work. And we have very good, you know, one thing Walton County has is excellent EMS service. I mean, we have a really good, you guys have done a great job of building that over the years. So it gets to be a cost benefit, but it happens a lot more than you realize, unfortunately. So.
I have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Ms. Bowman.
Coy Bowman, Bowman. I would just like to point out that we wouldn't have such a terrible opioid problem if people weren't being exposed to corrupt, dangerous machinery that emits low-frequency sound waves. A small amount of radiation feels like stress, which causes somebody to take anti-anxiety medicines like Xanax. And this new equipment that you're using is extremely painful. It feels like you're being electrocuted. I have a couple of friends who understand this pain. One of them shot himself in the head because this was so painful. This is this new technology you're using, whether it's a well point machine is what you like to call it, or the new electricity, or whatever corrupt technology it is that you started using around Christmas of 2 Christmases ago. So I think the reason why everybody's so stressed out and is overdosing, like Bay County has the highest death rate from accidental overdoses, it's because you're using all of this corrupt technology that really only affects a certain percentage of the population, and other people who aren't aware that they're being exposed to corrupt radioactive machinery feel this radiation like stress. So we probably wouldn't have as bad of an opioid problem if you, the government, weren't exposing the people to corrupt radioactive machinery. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? You have something?
It can be a follow-up motion.
Ma'am?
All in favor said aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, that motion carries. Go ahead.
Okay. Chairman and Commissioners, I would just like to ask if the RFQ is going to go forward, I'd like to ask if you could do a motion at your discretion to authorize the county administrator to appoint a ranking or shortlist committee that may include somebody from the sheriff's office.
Okay, I so move.
Second.
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir. We'll put together a point of contact. That would be with who? The county attorney's on, Mr. Jones?
Either way is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And I apologize again. I actually thought y'all had taken care of that. Sorry.
All right. Where were we at before we got?
Item 22, Mr. Chairman.
22. Proceed.
Before you is a request to begin negotiations with Heffley and Associates for professional services regarding our state lobbying contract. We went out for a request for qualifications. 2 firms submitted, Heffley and Associates and the Pittman Law Firm. The score sheet is there in your packet that Heffley and Associates was the #1 ranked firm. We would, with your permission, begin negotiations to bring back a contract for your consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is a request from the Regional Planning Council, who is working with the county in the formulation of a strategic plan. Their request is that we appoint a strategic plan steering committee to assist them with input from the public and from the county in regard to the development of the plan. The recommendation would be that we utilize 3 from the Restore Pot 1 committee and 3 from the Triumph committee, and we would like to add a member from our planning staff, because a lot of the things that we're doing in planning refer back to a strategic plan. So we would recommend that we assign Mr. Carpenter, his designee, to that committee as well.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 We need to give you those names today.
Well, I was going to ask for a point of clarity of how we want to decide which 3 from each committee, whether you intended to allow the committee to appoint themselves, or whether this board wanted to make a recommendation. Either way is good with us.
Billy brought this up at my last meeting and asked for volunteers, and we actually got 3 volunteers, didn't we, Billy? Mr. Williams, I'm sorry. I forgot now who volunteered. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I think for today's purposes that the chairs, both you and Commissioner Jones, are acting as the sitting chairs of those two areas with those diverse stakeholders. So you had volunteers, but I think if we could have volunteers or your appointment, I think that would meet staff's recommendations to the board to allow those two individuals to appoint or direct either appoint or volunteer of their three committees.
My Triumph meeting's not meeting again till February 15th, so I'm prepared just to nominate three or.
I think that would be great if you could just nominate them, because we're under a very tight time frame with the Regional Planning Council. They're trying to have community outreach and bring that information to the steering committee within the next 60 days so that we can bring recommendations back to you for further direction. So if you could appoint three today, that'd be great.
Do you remember who volunteered from
You
us?
had Amy Stoyles,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Gosh, I have to pull my list. It was Amy Stoyles,
Lori Hood,
and
Bruce Naylor.
Mr. Naylor. That's correct.
That's three good ones.
and I'll do Juliet Milan, Danny Lucas, and Dennis Sherwood.
So I make a motion, we approve those.
You want to go ahead and see who wants to approve?
Hang on a minute.
Oh.
Did we ever finish out that last motion? I think we got halfway through it.
Yeah,
We finished it, okay. Ms.
I
Commander.
move we appoint those 6 people to this committee, and also add Matt Carpenter or his designee.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now, who would actually chair this committee? Would we need a chairman for the steering committee?
Certainly you need a chair, but you could certainly allow them to elect their own, unless this board wanted to take that responsibility and determine who they wanted to sit as chair, but they,
Well, if the chair could vote, then I would say Mac. But if you don't want the chair to be able to vote, like in my instance, I can't vote on my pot one. I'm the chairman.
well, yeah, but that's, you in more of an ad hoc committee member, but in this instance, you've appointed Mac or his designee as a committee member, so he certainly has the ability to chair the meeting and vote, or his representative.
Okay,
Sounds good.
works for me.
So, you want to make that a motion
Thought I just did, but I'll do it again.
to make him chair? Is that, if that's your desire?
Hi, Mac. Yes. Okay, I mean, he's kind of in the middle. We've got Restore Triumph, and
Would we want a commissioner to do this? I'm thinking maybe Commissioner Commander could do it too. Would that be a problem in reporting back to us? She's not voting, but a liaison between the commission and the strategic plan. Her input would be very valuable in what we're trying to, the way we're trying to move in the strategic plan.
well, I thank you for that. I've worked hard at
If Sarah's good with this, Commissioner Commander's good with this, I'm certainly good with it, because she does have a lot of experience in this. She has she's been on this from the start. So if she's willing to serve, I'll make the motion that she be the chairperson.
Second.
Thank you. It would be my honor, and I'll do the best.
Any
possible
legal
job I can do.
concerns?
The only legal concern that would come up would be if a commissioner is going to be a active member of the board, or even going to be speaking at those functions, that and any other person on the BCC would be advised not to attend.
Or advertise that we're going to have
And
more.
these meetings would need to be advertised under the sunshine, because it would be a recommendation that would ultimately come to the BCC.
So they could attend.
They could
just-
attend then, if it's advertised 2 or more commissioners to be present.
If it was advertised that 2 or more commissioners would be there, yes. But again, it's as long as everything is advertised that there could be 2 or more, then yes. But if it was just a committee meeting, if there's a chance that more than one BCC member would be there, it would need to be advertised as such.
I think we should basically do that for
Yeah, we
most
could
of
cover
them,
that.
because you never know. But hey,
All right, have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
for your faith in me. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, next item is regarding request to begin negotiation with the top-ranked firms for grant writer in response to RFQ 18-001. If you recall, part of the Triumph requirements and the other components of Restore and different pots are requiring some fairly specific expertise in grant writing and ability to convey projects through in the written form. What we did was we issued a request for qualifications for grant writers with anticipation of forming a stable of companies that can assist us based on their expertise and our needs. What you have before you are three firms, the Color 9 Group, the West Florida Regional Planning Council, and Langton Associates. What our request is that we accept each of those and move forward with negotiating contracts very similar to how we do with our continuing contracts with our engineering services. If we have an engineering company that has an expertise in, say, landfill, that's the one we're going to look to. So what we'd like to do is have a stable of these grant writers that bring a different set of expertise to the table, so that as we move forward in these projects, we have a selection that we can pull from. But in order to do that, we have to enter into agreements with each of them. Initially, there will be no financial commitment. They will be there when we need them, and they will be paid as we use them.
Okay, good. That was my question. Yeah.
Okay. It's the board's wishes.
I guess,
I make a motion, we approve.
yeah.
Is that a second, Ms. Sarah?
Yes, sir. I did want to ask, and she just nod her head back there, Melinda Gates, are you comfortable with this? Yeah, because she'll be working she'll be working closer, I guess, than anybody with them.
Okay,
All
got
right. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Is there any other discussion from the board? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is a request to approve a scope of services and advertise for an RFQ for engineering firms to provide CEI services for the construction of the new transfer station at the landfill. Before you is a scope of services that we believe is sufficient to cover our needs from a construction management standpoint and inspection. It's not exhaustive. We try to develop a scope that would allow us to utilize our in-house expertise, but when we need someone from the outside to take a look at things, that gives us the ability to task whomever would be awarded this agreement to move forward. But if you approve this scope of services, we would also ask that you allow us to advertise it to bring back a firm for your consideration at a future date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion. Motion and a second. Any public comment?
Wait a moment. I just had a question. When you say transfer station, are you talking about one of those giant storage tanks?
No, ma'am. We're talking about a facility where garbage is picked up from the curbside, it's taken to a central location, dumped, and then it's loaded into much larger trucks and trucked to its final destination, which is Spring Hill Landfill in Jackson County.
Okay, so this is about regular garbage.
Regular garbage.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is regard to a selection for a candidate to fill the vacant on-lake position for the Coastal Dune Lake Advisory Board. You have three applicants there that have made application for this. I believe the recommendation from Ms. Gates and her is Cole Taylor, which is one of the three there before you. So you can certainly take that recommendation or select another candidate of your choice.
I move that we accept Cole Taylor as the candidate,
I second it.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item is an update on a previous request from the county regarding assistance from the county to the 4-H on property located on Highway 83 south of Farm Bureau. Public Works has done some work on that site and has developed some preliminary plans. Mr. Wright's here and is going to review that with you and talk to you about costs and timing and those type things.
Mr. Wright? Mike Goodchild.
Bring Mike with me. Good morning, Buddy Wright, Walton County Public Works. Got Mike Goodchild with the Extension Service here. Back in September, Mike, you come to the board and engaged on looking at the property there south of Farm Bureau on 83, the corner of Allen Road and Highway 83. So we went with Mike, reviewed the site. Greg Graham looked at the site as far as put together a preliminary grading and site plan, basically just try to figure out what part of that area would be usable, as far as parking or a multi-use facility, just to have some open space there. And what we come up with, there was roughly about 2.5 acres there that could be developed. The time you encountered the slopes in the property, you got to account for all that. There was about 2.5 acres. So basically, what that would include is you'd have to clear and grub the 2.5 acres. There's about 200 linear foot of pipe that would have to be installed to have the historical flow that goes through that site now to continue to go through it and pick up the drainage on the actual site you develop. There's been some talk about would you make this site 2.5 acres of milled asphalt, or would you sod it? That's really depends on what Mike and them want to do with it. But material cost wise, and this is just for material costs, you're looking at the neighborhood of about $30,000. And so basically that's our report back to the board that that's what we found as far as what the needs for the property would be. If it would basically be a 2 to 3 month project if the board asked us to do it. So with that being said, I'll certainly entertain any questions y'all have.
You say material cost is $30,000. What's the labor cost?
I did not run the labor cost. I can, but I would say you'd be safe to double that.
Okay.
60,000?
Yeah, and Mike wants to say a few words too.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. And Jenna couldn't be here today, my 4-H agent, like all. She's got the flu, but this is an important piece of property for us because right now at the Extension office we have no property basically, and it's close proximity to our office. And Jenna's been doing a good job of building up the 4-H youth program, and we're going to get grants and donations once the site's cleared to build the infrastructure, be it horse arena, restrooms, whatever we need to teach the kids. And also this could be possibly used as overflow parking for the fair too, when during the fair week when we have the traffic problems. So and just being close to our office, it's just important that we see if we can utilize this property.
Yes. How quick are you trying to get this done?
We're hoping to have this done by fair time, which is
Well, my follow-up question would be to Buddy. We have a lot of things in the pipe, so to speak, being done by staff.
We do.
Are we going to have enough time or personnel, equipment available to address this along with all the others that we have going on now?
I mean, 2 to 3 months work, obviously would affect our work program and the projects that we're working on now. We can certainly shift around if the board makes it a priority for us to get on. We'll make it work somehow. We always do, but it will impact our schedule. There's cannot say it would not. And then there's still the, as far as the material cost, that money would have to come from somewhere. That's not a budgeted, that $30,000 is not budgeted in Mike's budget, nor obviously not in Public Works' budget.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, question for Mr. Goodchild.
Go ahead.
Have y'all purchased this property? Are you leasing it, or
It's,
under what mechanism are you utilizing it?
It's under a 30-year lease.
30-year, okay.
Lease, $1 a year, and I believe the county attorney's we sent the lease to her. I guess they've reviewed it.
Okay.
And insurance-wise, it's all covered. Anything that's done on that will be covered through the university. So there wouldn't be any county liability.
I understand our constraints with, our staff and working on it, but another concern I have is if you've gone down that road during fair time, it's very dangerous. I mean, you have cars parking on the side, people trying to get across the road. I would be willing to commit to maybe the clearing, and then let's get it cleared and see how many donations you have and how much fundraising you've been able to do. And
we talked about grants too, maybe St. Joe and stuff helping us.
yes, absolutely.
Mainly getting it
Yes.
cleared off.
Yes, my office actually would help you with the St. Joe, application if you need any assistance. So, would be more than happy to work with you. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but, are you through? I'm sorry.
yes, I'm through.
Is $30,000 to clear it or to do everything?
$30,000 is what we're approximating would get a site that Mike could either be a sodded or a milled asphalt site for him to either
To clear it.
be cleared, and
Okay.
we put what fill we needed to in there. And certainly at board's discretion what we do. Now, one thing that kind of worries me a little bit about us going and clearing prior to us constructing is, if we clear that, we've got to maintain that site as far as, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there's some topographical challenges out there. So if we were to clear it, I worry a little bit about how we can, keep everything under control there until we get back to construction on it. So that would be a little bit of a concern, being able to maintain that site as far as keeping soils and stuff on the site, while we're waiting to move forward. Certainly be willing to do anything the board have us to do, but that would be one concern that we talked about.
So you're saying once it's cleared, someone should go ahead with materials?
Yes, ma'am.
Simultaneously. How long do you think it would take to clear it again?
A month's time it could be cleared. I mean, we're approximating 2 to 3 months on, clearing, grubbing, hauling dirt in, basically building the pad there with the pipes and all.
2.5 acres.
Mr. Chairman, this is a heavy one for me. I certainly support the 4-H program. I grew up in the 4-H program. And I see the necessity for more acreage for you. I understand Commissioner Jones's comment about more parking for the fair. But is the fair the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility? I know we help them out a lot, but they're a private entity. I'm looking at, you're saying $30,000, $60,000 if we did this, roughly, because counting labor. And the thing that concerns me the most is that we do have projects in the pipeline now that stacked up, that are necessities that need to be done. And they've needed to be done for months and possibly years now. And do we put those off, which will benefit the citizens of Walton County? I want to help do this, but to me at this time, that money, our commitment, if we didn't have a whole lot of stuff in the pipeline and we could add this in, but that is my concern, Mr. Chairman, is that we have more to do than we can say grace over now.
Okay. Anyone else?
Have you talked to the fair about helping with the cost of the fair people?
Not with the board. We haven't had a board meeting. Now, we've talked about getting some volunteer, like some loggers in the area, maybe with volunteer time to help clear it. We still would need the county, to stabilize it. Mm-hmm. So there's some possibility of cost savings by some of our loggers that are in 4-H with their kids.
Right.
They would
And there
possibly
might-
clear the lumber off,
Right. There might be some private contractors that would donate
Right.
the dirt and things like that.
And we understand, the priorities of the county. I mean, our goal was by fair time, and when I said parking, that was just a secondary. Our primary goal is for educating the youth. It's not parking for the fair, but that's just a side benefit.
And I'll say again, I fully support the fair. I love it, but I know how they struggle to make ends meet, and to keep, the fair up. They try not to charge too much so that people can afford going in the fair, and it is a, financial that I don't know that they could take on any of this cost. What I would suggest that we get with the fair, y'all get with her and ask them, can they contribute? If so, how much? Ask for volunteers. Hey, we need somebody to cut down the trees. We need somebody, and see how many volunteers and all you can get, and then bring back to us and say, we have 10 people that'll haul off the logs, and we have contractors, and we have all this. We need your help. And then I think that would ease my mind that, yes, you do. Let's do it and then look around for people to help. Let's get help first and then look at doing it. That's my suggestion.
Okay. Any other comments? Donnie, got anything?
I tend to agree with Commissioner Commander on this. I didn't grow up in 4-H, but I know it's a great program. If you can call living in Freeport living in the city. But we didn't have 4-H at Freeport when I went down there. We barely had books. But I think if we could see that there's other, that we could cut our costs down, this could be a lot easier pill for us to swallow, because it's twofold for us. It's the money that we didn't have budgeted, and it's also the labor that's going to take away from somewhere else. So if you could contact outside groups and get as much help as you possibly can and come back to the board, that may even help with Public Works, may cut down their time there. And I think it's a very worthwhile project, and I would like for you to bring it back to us as quick as possible, maybe at next month meeting in Defuniak.
All right, I'll work on getting the names of people, and possibly even for donating the sod too. I can get some of that done. But
anything that would help cut our costs and mainly our time, because like Commissioner Commander said, there's a lot of projects that's been on the books for a while that Public Works had planned on getting all of them done this year. Not all of them, but a lot of them done this year.
Whittling it down some anyway.
So I think if you could do that, I know it would help my feelings a lot.
Right, and it is my district, so I'm willing to let Rick work with you, and we'll solicit from people we know to try to help with the project. So stay in contact with our office and let us know what you've got so far, and then we don't mind asking as well. And it might be that St. Joe would go ahead and give you an upfront grant as well.
right, to help cover some of the costs.
That would help immensely. I mean, just some commitment.
All right, well, I want to thank the board for your support, and we'll work towards that goal.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we need a motion or anything, just direction.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We hope to
All
see
right.
you next month.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Buddy. Okay. Night number 28, Mr. Tusa.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Our first agenda item is to appoint or to reappoint new BCC County representatives for the TDC North Walton Events Committee. And I would like to just point out that at the last meeting, there was an error in the District 2 and the District 4 appointees. We had those reversed. So District 2 appointee is actually Butch Lawrence, and District 4 appointee is Robert Nelson. So I wanted to clarify that for the meeting today. So Commissioners Commander and Jones would be aware of that as they're making their either new appointments or reappointments.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take District 1 first and appoint Bruce Naylor.
Okay.
I thank Mr. Fletcher for his service, but I'm going to nominate or appoint Bruce Naylor.
Okay.
Is any District 2, I guess we'll go there.
Yes, I checked with Butch Lawrence, and he's willing to continue to serve.
Okay, great.
Okay, District 3, she's not here.
She's not here, but at the last meeting, she had indicated she wanted to nominate, appoint rather, Reynolds Henderson to represent her.
Okay. Okay, District 5.
District
Oh,
Court meeting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
District-
fine.
you're
Yes,
fine?
he is willing to serve again.
Okay, District 5,
I would like to thank Ms. Diane Merkel for her service, but I would appoint Caitlin Tidwell to the District 5.
Caitlin, what was the last name?
Tidwell.
Okay. All
All
right,
right, great, thank you.
you got them?
Motion to approve?
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate for someone on staff to reach out to the municipalities to determine whether they still wish their mayors to serve? And if so, and include that in your motion unless otherwise they tell us something?
I think it could be the mayor or a designee of the mayor.
Yeah, I think that,
If it's all good, okay.
Could we also get staff to thank the people that have been replaced, to make sure
Yes,
that we
ma'am.
thank them for their service?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, great. The next item, number 29, request approval to produce a land report for the property located at Driftwood Road. The last meeting, the board authorized for that property 2 appraisals to be done. And in the past, when we purchased those various properties over the past year and a half, we did a land use report that was completed by Public Works and the planning departments. So just wanted to see if the board was interested in doing that again for this piece of property in order to help you make a decision. We bring those appraisals back in the coming weeks.
I make a motion, we do this.
Yeah.
second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Great. Thank you. And then for the final item, updates, I just wanted to do a quick update on the Northwest Beaches Airport over in Panama City. We got some good news last week. American Airlines will now be servicing that airport. So that will be flights coming in from 2 of their hubs, both Atlanta and Charlotte. I'm sorry, not Atlanta, Charlotte and Dallas-Fort Worth. So those are some great markets. Dallas is a good market for us, so I think there can be some new growth with those increased flights. It'll be between the 2 hubs, it'll be 8 additional flights coming into the area every day, and that'll be starting in June. So that's exciting news for us.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
All right. Okay, I think the next item up is a public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing?
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Who's going to handle that? Legal?
Chairman, I will introduce this item. This is a public hearing, and this is an ordinance amending ordinances 86-18 and 98-2, establishing the initial tourist development tax and the 3rd cent tourist development tax as amended, and updating the previously adopted Walton County Tourist Development Plan with anticipated revenue and expenses for the 24 months beginning January 1, 2018. That's it, Chairman.
Thank you. It's a public hearing. Any public comments? Seeing none?
Motion to approve. This is money, so it has to be done inside the public hearing, right?
I'm sorry?
This involves money, so it does have to be done inside the public hearing, correct?
Yes, it needs to be done in the public
Motion to
hearing.
approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is a public hearing to request to approve a resolution to bring forward the $1,068,656 for capital improvements at the South Walton Annex and Freeport Business Complex.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Third.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, you know what's up there. Resolution to bring forward $1 billion plus. Does anybody want to talk about that?
Just to be clear, you're not spending any money. You're simply moving it from one account to the other, and this will allow us to have the funding we need to at least begin the process of design and renovation of the South Walton Annex and the Freeport Business Complex. But prior to you spending any of the funds, it'll be back before you.
Motion to approve.
Second?
A motion and second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to close public comment, a public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Let's see. I think number 33, this is county attorney.
Yes, Chairman. Number 33 is a request to accept the resignation of John W. Roberts from the alternate seat on the Code Enforcement Board. Mr. Roberts is serving on the Planning Commission and can only serve on one of those boards.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 34.
Number 34 was discussing the opioid litigation. The next item is under number 35. And Chairman, this is an update on Dr. Harper's Driftwood Estate Stormwater System Evaluation and request for board direction. In your agenda packet, there is an email from Dr. Harper that my office received on January 5th. If you'd like, I can read it, but you have it there as a paragraph. Basically, in essence, Mr. Harper's waiting on some proposal from a surveying company, and he expects to submit a proposal to the county at some point in hopefully the near future for the county to complete the scope of services under the original contract that the county had with them a few years back. And if you'd like for us to wait on that, and I can certainly get in touch with him and tell him the county is interested, and please get us something as soon as possible, or you can give us a deadline on when we need to hear from him, whatever is your pleasure.
Did he give any indication how long this would take?
No, sir, other than what's in the email. That's all I received.
Well, being it's taken so long, I mean, I suggest, I guess we're going to have to vote on renewing his contract, being it's already expired, but I certainly think we need to have some time limits. We don't need to drag on for another year or so, if we're going to do this.
Well, it's hard to tell from his email as to how long Southeastern Surveying has been taking, doing whatever it's doing.
Because we haven't gotten any bills from them at all, have we?
I don't know.
No, I would expect that would probably be rolled into Dr. Harper's, whatever he would be billing the county to finish the services. That's my guess.
Well, if we go ahead and move forward with Dr. Harper, I'm okay with trying to set some guidelines as far as time frame for him to move something, do something. The only other option would be to just discontinue what we're doing with him now and go all out and start all over again.
Well, Chairman, I think my recommendation at this point would be if you are inclined to entertain going forward with Dr. Harper, would give maybe a time certain for him to come back and bring a proposal to the BCC to approve, continuation of the contract and whatever. If you want to give him 30 or 60 days or what have you, at least get the ball rolling on.
What's the board's wishes?
I think 30 days. I mean, surely he can bring us back something in 30 days.
At least he could give us an update.
Yeah, so he can give us something.
Okay.
Do you need this in a motion or just instruction?
I would ask for a motion for the county attorney's office to reach out and give him 30 days from when he receives communication to present a proposal to the BCC to complete the original scope of services.
That's my motion.
It's a motion.
Second.
Second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 36.
The next item, number 36, is a request approval to schedule an executive session on February 27, 2018 at the Walton County Courthouse, 8:30 a.m. to discuss Corey Knighty and James Blaine Halderson versus Walton County Board of County Commissioners, a case that's ongoing. Discuss
Executive session.
litigation expenditures.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is that all you have?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Commander, I believe you're up.
If you don't mind, I would like to be last on the list today.
Boy,
Sir,
I like to see you go first. No, I'm kidding.
I think I need to go last.
All right, well, we'll postpone yours to the last. Okay, well, it looks like Commissioner Jones, you're up.
I have a request from the Paxton Fire Department for an emergency signal, and we asked DOT to look into this, and they could not do it because the fire department does not, it's on Webster Street instead of 331. So we're continuing to work with them, but I'd like staff to be able to work to see if we could do some minor renovations to get the fire department to open on 331, or see if FDOT would change their rules and give us a variance so that we could get the signal. What happens is it's very, very busy in the summer, and the fire trucks sometimes have a hard time getting out, and the ambulances. So I'd like to direct staff, I make a motion that we direct staff to work with the fire department and look at the project and see how we could accommodate and work with FDOT.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My next item is Proposal 95, and this is a proposal by the Constitution Revision Commission that's in session right now. And this proposal would eliminate home rule, and actually Tallahassee would be making major decisions that we need, in my personal opinion, we need to do it on the local level, and some of these might include zoning, animal control, tree protection, traffic flows, and actually Tallahassee would be making these decisions, and this one really caught my attention. The critical decisions such as ensuring strip clubs and pot stores, we make the decision where we want them to go, and we certainly want to protect our children. We want to protect our churches, and these decisions, if this were to pass, would be made in Tallahassee. It would hurt small businesses. It would be problematic. Sometimes our small business people don't have the money to fight the rules in Tallahassee. So I just personally think that we really know what's best for our community. I'm for home rule. I'm for the local people making decisions for local government. So having said all that, I make a motion that we move to direct staff to draft a letter for the chair's signature stating our unified opposition to this proposal and deliver the letter to the appropriate members of the Constitution Revision Committee in a timely way. There is a meeting at 9 o'clock this Friday in 401 Senate Office Building if anyone wants to come, and I have some other just summaries of this bill, and it's also online. So I make a motion that we draft the letter.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, just if I might, for a point of clarity, this is a proposed constitutional amendment. So it's not just legislation that's being considered through the legislature. This is the Constitution Revision Commission that is proposing, this proposal 95 would be an amendment to the Florida Constitution. So the things that the commissioner just mentioned go way beyond statutorily required. They become constitutionally required. So big reach in my.
Right. So, contact this committee, email, let your friends know. If you agree with us, then we certainly want to do everything we can to stop this.
All right. Now we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do you have something?
No, that's fine.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry, Tony.
That's okay.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Jones? Okay. No, it ain't your turn yet. You want to be last. My item for discussion is a request to assist the Westonwood Ranch, a 501c3 nonprofit organization with site preparation requiring about 40 loads of clay mix to be hauled to the Freeport Sports Complex for a pro rodeo event to raise funds to help and assist children and young adults with disabilities. And I don't know if Miss Lindy is here or not. Guess not. Okay. Anyway, She is trying to put an organization together, or a set of classrooms, equestrian stations, and all that on a piece of property out there just west of Freeport. And she's trying to raise funds so she can move forward with the construction of that facility to handle those children that have autism and other types of disabilities. She's asking us to provide the 40 loads of clay out there. If you see where the two large fields are there, those are soccer and football fields. It's just to your left. It's that open area there. And it's a matter of just putting it in there and mixing it so it'll to a certain dimension, so it'll be a good pro rodeo arena site. It would stay there for future events. This is going to be her first annual event, and she wants to continue to do that to help facilitate the progress of her facility. So that's my request. And I guess in this particular case, I'm going to pass the gavel to the chair and ask the board to, as a motion to approve this request to provide 40 loads of clay mix at the location identified in your board book for the Westonwood Ranch.
And I second that.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the board?
I just know I've met with Ms. Wood, and this is a very needed project. What happens to our autistic children is they go through school, through high school, and we can accommodate their needs. But after high school, it just seems like they're dropped. So she wants to take those students from high school on and train them so that they can be productive citizens. So it's a very good project, and I assume we can do this because we are partners in the sports park. Right.
There's a couple of different reasons why. Number one, yes, that's the City of Freeport Sports Park, so it is a sister government agency. And as well, if this board makes a legislative determination that this expenditure does meet a public, and even more so than a public, a county purpose.
Any comments from the audience? If none, what's the board's pleasure?
It's a vote.
Vote?
Yeah. We've already,
Okay.
yeah.
We've got a vote. We've got a motion and a second.
All in
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You wanted to.
You did fine.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners.
Before you go, Ms. Commander, I have a request under me. I added to the agenda. I don't know how many of y'all from South Walton, but the ones that do know that 38 between Blue Mountain and Grayton has been closed to build a bridge at Redfish Lake because the road was collapsing. At this time, I would like to ask our engineer, Chance Powell, to come up and give an update on that.
Commissioner, Chairman, thank you. I actually spoke to the contractor this morning, and he confirmed a date of completion for the bridge on February the 9th. That'd be a Friday or sooner. That does match the contract with a substantial completion deadline date and weather days, so everything's on schedule.
Okay, so I hope at our next meeting in South Walton, I'm going to call you up and you can say it's complete.
I hope so.
All right, thank you.
Pressure on.
All right. Anything else done?
That's it.
Ms. Commander.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to ask Bill Infeld and Scarlett Funoff to come up. Most of y'all remember Scarlett. We're so very proud of her. She started her career with the Walton County Economic Development Alliance, and here she is. She works for Power South, and I'm personally proud of everything that she's accomplished. But in that regard, she is bringing a project to us today called Project Triumph. Project Triumph is a technology company that does digital design for the financial industry. The company is looking for a location to house their fast-growing business and would like to stay in South Walton. They're there now and want to stay. However, other locations such as Birmingham and Nashville and Atlanta are trying real hard to lure them away from Walton County. And one of the attractions to that is that they have more, in these bigger cities, they have more technology, employees with technology skills. So if they're not supported here, if we do not support them, they will be traveling. They're looking to add about 45 new jobs over the next 3 years at an average wage of just under $50,000. Now, 50, did I say 50,000? Yeah. That's about 150% higher than the current average wage here in Walton County. And these are good paying jobs, they've applied for the Qualified Target Industry Tax Refund Program through the state. And this program requires a resolution of support from the local governing board. You see that we're requesting a waiver of the required 20% local match because we're a rural county and have that rural county designation. There will be no cost to the county for this. The QTI program is a performance-based tax refund. The company has to create the jobs, they have to pay the wages, they have to agree to do and pay their taxes in order to get a refund. It just isn't handed to them. This is an absolutely wonderful thing for South Walton. We're working hard to try to get more industry and jobs in North Walton, but this is a benefit to those people that live in South Walton and work down there and want to continue to work down there. So it's my request that we do a resolution in support of the local of this Project Titan. Scarlett, is anything you would like to add to this?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much for the kind words. It's good to see all of you, and thank you for your anticipated support of Project Triton.
Mr. Bell, you want to?
I'm good.
Okay. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any public comment? Ms. Bowman.
I'm not exactly sure what they're about, but how much space are they planning to take up? I mean, how much land would be required to have their facility?
Just a office building. They're not requiring acres and acres of land. They just need an office building, probably one already down there that they could probably use. I think
Yes, ma'am. They're looking to lease space in an existing building.
In an existing building, so no new construction would be required?
Not right now.
Okay, because I'm against anything new being put on my island.
Yes, ma'am. We understand. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Scarlett, good seeing you.
All right, Mr. Chapman, I do have one other item.
Okay. Press on.
And if you will give me some latitude, please, sir.
Let's see where you go with this.
I have decided, at this time, not to seek re-election. Told myself I wasn't going to cry. I'm not going to do it. I have had 12 wonderful years serving the BCC and the people of this county. You have brought me more pleasure and more pride in the things that we have accomplished and our employees have accomplished. I am truly blessed that I get to work with these people every day. But there comes a time when you get my age, and for those that don't know, I'll soon be 72. I have some rather severe health problems. It's going to take some concentration on my part and some effort, because I plan on living long enough to see my youngest granddaughter get married, and she's only 10. So I need to take care of myself and my health, and I need to spend time with my family. I do not feel that it's fair that I run, and I guess I'm just not. I think I can win another election, but it's not fair to the people of Walton County for me to run and get reelected and not be able to serve out 4 years. Mike could do a 2 or 3, but I don't believe my health and all would allow me to serve 4 years, and that's not fair to the people of Walton County. most of all, I want to thank the people I work with. As I say, that's going to be the hardest part. It's not seeing these faces every day. But don't think I'm giving up. Honey, I'm fired up. Before I leave office in November, there are things that I'm going to accomplish. We are going to accomplish. We're going to work it and do it together. I'm not going to I will use every strength that I have left to make sure we have broadband in this county where we desperately need it. I'm looking at introducing, for example, ethics for all of Walton County. And of course, I'm going to work to my last breath to bring the restore money back to this county, the money that we deserve, and then if we use wisely, we can change the face of this county. So I want to thank you for your support in the past. I know that will continue, but I felt now is the proper time to announce this. My doctor and I had a heart-to-heart the other day, and he kind of convinced me that I need to be around to enjoy life. So at this time, I am announcing that I will not seek re-election. Thank you.
Ms. Sarah?
Could I say something?
Yes.
I just want to commend Sarah because I have truly enjoyed work. We don't always agree, but I can tell you it stays here at the table. And I would just say to her, it's not time to retire, but to refire. And there's lots of committees, and whatever we see that we still want you to be a part because you have truly so much to offer. And can we just say no? We're not going to accept your resignation.
Well, I can't resign. I'm not
Right.
resigning.
But truly, seriously, I just really do appreciate your
I
service.
do want to say I want something to work out so that I can continue to cook for Jeff. I mean,
I'm sure he would allow that. So,
but thank you.
Tony?
My short time on the board, it's just gone past a year. Sarah and I have been friends for a long time. I met her when she first moved to the Funiac.
Lord, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was 6, I think.
I went floundering with her at the Bay.
But Sarah's been a mentor to me. She's helped me on understand what's going on. This is a daunting job, especially for a new commissioner. And without the experience on the board, kind of showing you the ropes and completely staying in the sunshine, it's been a pleasure to work with Sarah, and I look forward to the rest of this year of working with Sarah. She's always been my friend, but she's really good to work with. She understands issues a lot better than I do, especially the Triumph money and the Restore money. She's been in that for the go, and she's fought for Walton County with that money. In fact, we're in Orlando, and she had a Restore meeting down there, and boy, she must have blistered the people in the room because they came out talking about, my God, she jumped all over us. But
they were trying to take our money.
Yeah, and she's fought for our money from Walton County, and she's taught me how to fight for that money of Walton County. And I've been to Washington twice to fight for it. But it's the effort she's given to teach me things I didn't know. And Sarah, for that, I appreciate it. And you will be missed.
I'm not going anywhere yet.
And you still owe me a banana pudding.
Next meeting.
All right. Well, sir, you want me to say anything? No, I didn't think so. No, I'll reserve my comments at the end. I've known you for a long time, too. I remember the funeral home and all that took place, and then getting involved in politics. And again, we haven't always seen eye to eye on things, but that's good for business.
That's what we're here for.
That's right. And I'm glad you took into consideration your health. We've had that conversation, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. Not to get you off the board, but to look out for your health and all that. You got great-looking grandkids there, and I know you want to see them get on up there. And I've enjoyed my almost 6 years working with you, and looking forward to the next 10, 11 months, whatever's left. But gonna wish you the best, you know that. And Jeff, direction from the board, she's always available to cook. So we always enjoy that too. Okay. Let's see, I think now we got citizens' request. The first one up is Michelle Souders. If you will, identify yourself to the clerk and also spell your last name. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Souders, Souders.
Thank you.
I'm in here in reference to Newsom Drive.
Okay.
A deed has been filed, recorded in the county records that says the road belongs to the county, has been on file for over 20 years, and the county is still refusing to maintain a road that they own. I would like to know why I'm paying for grade on a road that I don't even have a deed to.
Anybody from Public Works want to talk about it?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
We've addressed this on more than one occasion and at the board level on more than one occasion. In your packet are several pages of questions and comments that has been presented. Quite frankly, we have not had the opportunity to review those or to respond to them. It might be in everyone's best interest, instead of trying to stay here for a lengthy amount of time today to debate each one of these, to allow our legal department and Public Works and whomever else to review these statements, comments, questions that have been presented, and at the next meeting in North Walton, the February North Walton meeting, bring you back responses to these. Because I can tell you today that we're not prepared to answer question after question that have been presented. It's going to take a lot of, it's going to take some effort. Now, some of them we may have already answered. Again, this is not the first time this has been before the board. It's not the first time Public Works or Legal has reviewed it. However, there may be some new information here that we need to look at, and we'd be more than happy to do that. So with those thoughts, we will follow whatever direction the board lays out. But I do think there are a number of things here that we would do well to take some time to review and offer some thoughts back, as opposed to just trying to react to them
And I certainly
one at
agree
a time today.
with you on that. And I've always been told that just because a road was dedicated or given to Walton County doesn't mean we're responsible for maintaining it.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's,
ma'am.
You know, but I'm sorry, I'm speaking to him. So if you would, if you'd look in, research and bring it back to us. I appreciate it.
You have a comment, ma'am?
Yes, that deed has been on file for over 20 years in accordance with, and I got it written on that paper you're going to look over.
Well,
By law, the road belongs to you because it was recorded. Once it was recorded, that's as good as being accepted by the county.
okay, well, those are going to be issues to be determined by Legal and Public Works to review the multiple pages of questions that came from you.
True, and I tried to get the answers from Commissioner Nipper, and they totally blew me off.
Say that again?
I tried to get answers from former attorney Mark Davis and Commissioner Nipper, and they just blew me off. Refused to answer my questions.
Well, if he ain't here no more than Attorney Davis, he ain't obligated to say anything.
Right.
So, anyway, we'll go ahead and move forward with allowing staff and the legal to look at this, Public Works and legal, and report back at the February, in the second meeting in February.
Not sure what the date is.
And thank you for coming up here today and bringing this to our attention, and we're not going to blow you off. We are going to get some answers.
Okay,
So,
thank you, ma'am.
And I certainly hope you understand the need to review what you've presented to us.
Yes, sir, I
as
do.
opposed to trying to just piecemeal it through today.
Yes, sir.
February 27th would be the next
27th?
meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Jamie McConnell, South Walton Little League. Jamie McConnell, last call. Not here, moving on. Mike Thornton, Seagrove Baptist Church. Is he here? Okay. Last call, Mike Thornton. Moving on. I think that takes care of all the citizens' requests. Is there any other public comment at this time? Any other public comment? Ms. Bowman.
Mr. Chairman, do we take a break before we start?
After this.
After this?
Yes. Go ahead.
Coy Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. I just wanted to make a correction. A moment ago, I referred to you all as the government, which is funny because you're not a government, you're a political entity. In that form from 66, you actually George Orwelled the word government, that it says in the form where you used your plenipotentiary to say that all of this was yours. It said, when you say the word government, you do not mean government in the way that the federal government refers to the word. It means you and whatever you want the word government to mean. So I think the reason why you don't want the state, the capital, to have decision-making about what you said earlier, you're going to write a letter saying you don't want them to have any authority over you, is because of this whole the Panhandle is under the jurisdiction of a Board of County Commissioners, because a long time ago this was all Indian land and it didn't fall under the same law as white man law. Well, so like if there's no Indians left, then why do we still have a Board of County Commissioners that's not answerable to the capital of the state of Florida? Because, like, you know, when I call over there, they say they have no jurisdiction over here. So anyways, I wanted to correct myself that I should not refer to you as a government because you're a political entity. And I also wanted to make an apology for my grand sweeping generalization I made about the flag a couple of months ago down south. I said something like, all those people up north are all racists. You know, I know that not every single person north of Freeport is a racist. It's just the ones that I have met are very blunt and aggressive about it. And then when I had a moment to think about it, I realized that the Confederate flag that you fly over this building isn't actually about racism. That's just a really convenient distraction for you to throw off on the people, to have them all like, oh, this is racism, this is racism. Like, when you fly the Confederate flag, you actually are the Confederacy. I mean, I think all of you are the great-great-grandchildren of the Confederacy. And that's why when, at one point, I said something to you about the president, one of you said, what president? I don't think she's here today, the curly-haired one. And then when I said the President of the United States, she actually said, what United States? Which means you, as a board, don't recognize the authority that gave you your power in the first place, because it was the President of the United States that established a Board of County Commissioners over the Panhandle, because this was Indian land. So, like, you are the Confederacy. You don't recognize the President of the United States, nor do you recognize the United States, which is why you don't want the Capitol telling you what to do. So I just wanted to apologize. I thought the flag flying over this Capitol actually had something to do with racism, where what it is you are a foreign political entity that exists here within the United States, fighting against the United States. That's why you don't want to pay your taxes. So anyways, my time's up. Ciao.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we're going to take a short recess. Be back in about 15 minutes.
Shoot me, man.
Mac, I think you're up. Mac, are you up? You out there talking to my boy there.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. We have 3 items this morning. The first one is a legislative item. This would be the adoption hearing for the Farmers Market Ordinance. This has been reviewed by the Design Review Board and the Planning Commission. Vivian Shamel is here, and she can make our presentation.
Thank you. Ms. Vivian?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an ordinance proposing to amend Chapter 13 of the Land Development Code. Chapter 13 is regarding scenic corridors in South Walton and scenic corridors only. This proposes to amend the code for scenic 30A route and the Highway 98 route only. The history of this is that there were some farmers markets that wanted to locate on Highway 98, and the current code did not allow for them to do that because tents were prohibited and they could not use additional temporary signage for the farmers markets. So that's what started the process to get them to be allowed on the scenic Highway 98 corridor. Additionally, it just provides for a method of permitting under outdoor events for 30A and also for the scenic Highway 98. We spent many months working with staff, with the farmers market managers, and the design review board to come to the final product that you have before you today.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Vivian?
If I may, just for a point of clarity, and Vivian, if you would confirm, this doesn't impact anyone outside the scenic corridor and their current ability to utilize whatever means and mechanisms are available for them to have a farmer's market. These are strictly Chapter 13 scenic corridor revisions, so it doesn't impact any other, any other's ability to continue what they've done for years and years outside of the scenic corridor. Okay. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is just a personal question I forgot to ask you yesterday. It's not going to affect like these churches that have outside Halloween stuff and all that?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Vivian.
And is there any public comment? Seeing none, what's the board's wishes?
Motion to approve?
Been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Vivian. I think the next ones are QJ's, Mac.
Yes, sir.
Okay, before we get started, anybody that anticipates testifying on these upcoming quasi-judicial items, if you would please rise, raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Anybody that anticipates testifying? Anybody else? Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. And as far as the board is concerned, has anybody on the board had any communication that would prevent you from rendering a fair and impartial decision on any of these matters?
No. Okay. When you come forward to speak, be sure you identify yourself to the clerk and also advise if you've been sworn or not. Mac, proceed.
Thanks, sir. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. Our first item under our quasi-judicial section of the agenda is Beechwood Estates subdivision. This is a request to approve by final order. It's been reviewed by Bob Barante, senior planner. It's a major development order application submitted by Dean Burgess on behalf of CBH4 LLC, requesting approval to develop 6 units on 4 lots to be platted and sold on 3.11 plus or minus acres with a future land use of neighborhood infill. The project's located just south of the intersection of San Roy Road and Beachside Drive, on Beachside Drive, and it's identified by the parcel number in your package. You may recognize this as the replacement project for your previous approval of the Azuro condominium. There was a subsequent lawsuit and a mediated settlement, and this project meets the requirements of that settlement in addition to being consistent with the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code, subject to the conditions of approval offered. We'd like to enter the staff report into the record.
So entered.
And the applicant is here to actually present the project.
Okay. So applicant, who's speaking for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Dana Matthews, on behalf of the applicant, with me today is Dean Burgess, who's the project civil engineer. I'll be brief and a brief introduction and answer any questions y'all may have. Please recall, this is a piece of property, 3.11 acres on the Gulf, down off of San Roy Road in South Walton, previously approved in 2007 as a 13-unit condominium project. The then property owner and developer never developed the project, and my client has recently acquired that property. My client originally submitted for a 12-unit condominium project that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission and then approved by this board after 5 public hearings. My client was sued by a couple of the neighbors. There's a property owner here called the Warners. They were here through counsel Will Dunaway at the BCC meeting. There's another couple here called the Drayers off of San Roy further down the road. They were plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Much to my surprise, my client agreed to an early mediation with the plaintiffs and their counsel. County was sued. We intervened. My client did. We had a mediated settlement agreement. I think it was November 30th. Mr. Jones and Matt Carpenter, Mr. Bronny, Sidney Noyes, everybody, all the lawyers, mediators, et cetera. Can't discuss what went on in mediation, but it did result in a settlement agreement. That came back to this board, I believe it was in the middle of November. The board approved the mediated settlement agreement. It's been fully executed. Part of that settlement agreement required a resubmittal of the project into a 4-lot subdivision, lot 1, 2, 3, 4, with the ability to put duplexes that look like the homes that you've seen in the prior meetings, except they're 2 units. So for a total of 6 units. Y'all remember this is neighborhood infill, minimum 2 units an acre, maximum of 8. Our density is 1.93. If they do the 2 duplexes, it'd be less than that. It meets all the requirements of every committee and department within planning staff. There's been no negative comments. The plaintiffs support this. I don't know what to tell you. There's no inconsistencies with the comp plan or the LDC, and I assume that this is what the neighbors objected to, which met the comp plan and the LDC, so this is what they're going to be getting. So, and just for edification, that we created additional setbacks for 35-foot view corridors. Again, there will be no disturbance of the primary dune line or secondary dune line, not interfering with the county's 33-foot wide access right-of-way on my client's property. We're here to answer any other questions.
Dean, you have anything you want to add?
No, but I may just proactively let you know we're handling this with a exfiltration system for stormwater. We meet the 100-year storm.
Knew I was going to go there.
I know what you want. But all the lots, it's kind of unique because all the lots will essentially have a sanitary sewer system that you tie into, as well as a storm system. You tie your roof drains into this stormwater utility that goes to a common stormwater system.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Any public comment?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Our final item this morning is Sanctuary Seagrove. This is a replat of lots 7, 8, 9, and 11 of Block 18 of the Gulf Shore Manor subdivision, originally platted in the 1920s prior to County Road 38, bisecting that platted subdivision. This is actually a reconfiguration of 5 lots of record into 4 lots to improve the development opportunity on 4 lots. We would normally handle this process with a minor lot split application because we're just moving lot lines among existing lots, and we're actually eliminating one of those existing lots. But because it involves more than 2 lots, we can't use that process, and we have to use the platting process. So we're not creating new development. We're actually reducing what development might be available there on the existing lots of record, but we're reconfiguring those existing lot lines. There are no additional impacts to the public, no preservation, no traffic, those kinds of things, and this is the final step in that process. This has been approved by a minor development order by the TRC, but the plat requires BCC approval, and that's what we're here today to do.
Okay. Any questions for Mac? Is the applicant here?
The applicant is here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Board, how are y'all doing today? It's Frank Watson, Sewell PL, and basically we just represent the applicant. I'm here to ask any questions, but I think Mr. Carpenter pretty much hit all the bases. It's relatively simple, and we're decreasing density and doing all single family, no condominium or anything of that nature. Do you have any questions for me?
Can you say your first name again?
It's Frank Watson.
Frank, okay. I thought I heard
Ms. Commander.
Sobel or something. One of the things about getting
Close.
older, you go.
All right. Any other questions for Frank? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, what's the board's wishes?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman, Board.
I take a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.